Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to you and to me because this is my first little video back since my internet break, since my YouTube and making stuff for social media break. I don't really want to call it like a cleanse or like a full-on online cutting the cord thing because I've still been online and still been around, but I've just, you know, completely taken my foot off of the gas of having to make anything or have any pressure for making any content for social media. So I'm just kind of coming out of that the last few days and wanted to take a little bit of time to update you guys and just check in since the last video I posted was about how I had been feeling super burnt out. And yeah, I guess the first thing I want to say is just that thank you. Thank you to everyone who was so supportive and so kind and left such encouraging comments on that video. I just felt like you guys gave me a big hug before I walked away, which was really nice. And it was the most restorative break I have had in a long time. And some of that I will say I'm gonna try not to edit this, so maybe I'm just gonna leave that in because usually I edit out my little verbal hiccups and the times when I talk on and on and on. It's even worse than it ends up being in videos, you guys. You don't even know. So, but I'm just gonna leave it. And I'm gonna be editing this one, not Meg. So Meg will be back to editing the future videos, but this is a very casual one. Anyway, this is probably like 30 minutes long already, but back on track. Yes, it's been a really good break, and that is because I made some different choices this time than I made in previous breaks, other times that I've stepped away, and also just because circumstances were different. So the two biggest breaks I've had in the last few years were both after the births of each of my daughters. So understandably, those weren't like necessarily the most restful. They were wonderful, but not like restful. They required a different kind of energy. And then the last time I took like an art break, I ended up just using it for an online break rather. I ended up just using that time for mostly admin stuff, like updating my portfolio and emailing art directors and doing all those things that I really should do on a regular basis that I want to do, but that often get pushed aside. Also, side note, if you just heard that big noise, I hope this is going to be audible. I hope this is going to be okay, but I have a big air conditioning unit behind me. I am in my studio today. Excuse me, I'm still working from home right now, but I came in to film so I could be alone with my thoughts. Yes, so I hope you can hear me okay. Yes, so I made some different choices this time. Circumstances were different. This time my goal was to spend as much time as possible just painting, and then also to have some time for kind of quiet reflection to think about why I've been feeling the way I've been feeling and what's behind it, and if I could do things differently to either accept those feelings or maybe move past them. I don't know, but to have, yeah, painting and reflection. Those were kind of like my two goals. So yeah, with the painting, I painted only what I wanted to paint. I did maybe do a tiny bit of client work, but for the most part, it was just stuff that I wanted to paint, and it wasn't even strategic. Like usually when I do self-initiated work anymore, like actually pretty much, I don't know, 9 out of 10 self-initiated paintings, maybe more, maybe all of my self-initiated paintings have some serious strategy behind them where I'm trying to fill in a hole in my portfolio or push work a certain direction if I want to attract another type of client or a certain type of client. And this time I just didn't do that at all. I just like totally went with my gut, and I was like, all right, I want to paint these. I think I did like 7 paintings. I want to paint these things. These look interesting. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going with it. Because my goal was just to get to that kind of flow state where I'm really just lost in the process. And yeah, that's like the most reliable way for me to like not feel anxious is to get into that state. Because I don't really do any sort of mood altering substances. I'm just, no problem. That's not a judgment. But just for me, that's not my thing. It's never been my thing. So my mood altering substance is art and is getting in that flow. But it doesn't happen with every single painting, and it happens the most often if it's a type of subject that I really love painting, and I painted a lot and I know it really well. And yeah, so I just chose things that I thought would be the most likely to get me into that place. And then, yeah, set aside some time for reflection. So if you're following me on Instagram, you may have already seen I've actually been sharing quite a bit, like way more than I usually would, about what has been happening, what I've been thinking about my thoughts. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be crazy. This whole time I'm just like getting more and more anxious about how long this video is gonna be and how wordy it's gonna be, but whatever, you guys, you can deal with it. Okay, so I actually do have a few notes here. This probably doesn't seem like I have any notes, but I do. I'm just gonna look at them really quick. Okay, yes, so one of the first things I noticed when I started painting was that I still liked painting, which was kind of, well, a huge relief and maybe even a little bit of a surprise, because I had been feeling like this wave of burnout just building. And yes, it's lately and it's everything that's been going on in the world, but honestly, like this whole past year, like with having a second baby and with moving and buying a house and renovating and like all of these like really good things, and I think I have talked about this in a video before, they're all good things, but they have all been like very intense in their own way. And then even before that, you know, it wasn't that long since Penny was born, and so it's just felt like in my personal life, the trajectory has been like this. And then in my career, right along the same time, the trajectory has been like this. I'm not using that to mean like it's been better and better and more awesome. And I mean, it has been better and better and more awesome. Oh my gosh. But busier, like more and more demanding, more and more intense. Yes, the intensity level, both personally and professionally, has just skyrocketed the past couple of years. And I could feel this like, yeah, burnout or discontentment, or just this feeling of unease, dis-ease kind of bubbling in the background. And it felt like this wave that was just building and building and building. And it didn't fully crash, but I could tell that it was about to when I stepped away and when I unplugged. So I didn't know how bad it was going to be. I didn't know, like, when I stopped, if I was going to just not want to paint. So I had planned out some of these things that I would paint, but I was really worried that I was going to have to like twist my arm and motivate myself to do that. But from the first few strokes, it just felt so good. And I did it, yeah, hours and hours of all of my working time. And yeah, it was amazing. And to be honest, it's like all I want to do all the time right now. And that brings me to kind of the other main point of the reflection. So I noticed that I still love to paint. I'm grateful for that. That's like the best news. But if I stepped back and really kind of tried to look at it objectively, the burnout was really focused around anything that's even loosely related to self-promotion. So yeah, and in a way, even though, you know, we have this community here and you guys are amazing and I love and appreciate you, there also is still a part of me that still feels like really reserved, and I have to, it takes a lot of motivation and a lot of my emotional energy to make videos, even a video like this, because it still feels like I'm like promoting myself, and it's also, you know, I'm an introvert, and this requires, for me, it requires relational energy. So anything, basically, I want to paint, but like don't really feel like doing anything else. And with the wanting to paint, I noticed that I still felt okay painting client work. I did one little client project during that time, and I was happy to do that too. It didn't feel quite as good maybe as the personal paintings. It didn't get me like quite as much into that flow state. But yeah, I still was very happy to do it. But, you know, thinking about like writing an Instagram post, or sitting down to film a video, or make a Skillshare class, or do a client email, like self-promotion type email, or a newsletter, any of those kinds of things just felt like this heavy weight. Yes. What do I want to say about that? Sorry, I'm trying to think of how much I want to get into that here. Yes, they felt like a heavy weight. And I spent a good amount of my time trying to think of why that is. And again, this is all stuff, well, a lot of this is stuff that I've put into written reflections that are on Instagram, so you should go look there if you haven't seen them yet. Yeah, and I think I'm still learning to understand it. I don't think I've gotten to the bottom of it yet, and I certainly haven't figured out how to make myself not feel that way. And I think that's not even the goal, to be honest. But for me, I think a good amount of what is behind that is I'm not sure of what the goal is, like why I'm doing it, what the point even is. And, you know, when I'm making art, when I'm actually painting, and it's taken me a long time to get to this place, but you know, people talk about like, oh, you need to do it for the process, you need to love the process, you need to appreciate the journey, blah, 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 blah. But I legitimately do, you guys, which is amazing because I never thought I would get to that place with art. You know, when I first started out, I was so goal oriented, wanting to like finish projects. And I can still be that way. I'm definitely that way with client work. But over the years, I realize now that I have become somebody who really does just love the process of painting. And I love painting more even than I love finishing a painting, if that makes any sense. So to me, the goal with art making is just to make more art. And that is the entire goal. And that feels very authentic, but yeah, I can really connect with that motivation. It is very motivating for me. I love doing it, and then I do love sharing it with people. I'm just being really honest here. This is not going to be the most flattering, but I mostly just love making it, and I think I would love making it even if I wasn't sharing it. And the growing edge for me, well, maybe that's not true. I don't know if that's true or not, but if right now it feels like all I want to do is make, and anything that has to do with putting it out there, it feels really burdensome. And the putting it out there, I'm not sure what the goals, what my aim is, what my motivation is, what my goals are, like what is the thing that is driving me to do that, like, and where am I going with it? So like there's the motivation, right, which is the thing that actually like makes you want to move, and then there's the goal, which is the, you know, direction you're headed, the spot that you're headed. And for anything that relates to sharing the work, I'm not totally sure what the goal is, what the motivation is. And you know, I can pick out some, like, of course, practically speaking, you know, dealing with clients, working with clients, that is how I help support my family. That's how I bring in income. So, and it's it's a significant part of how our family makes ends meet, how we make our way in the world. So that's a very like concrete goal that is meaningful for me because I care about supporting my family and I care about being a contributing member in that way. So yes, that is a goal. But, you know, if I think about social media and posting on social media, I realize like a big part of me has been focused on the numbers. And that I think is because it's so easy to focus on the numbers. And the metrics are always changing, the algorithms are always changing. And for somebody like me who is pretty shy and reticent, and when I go on social media, my natural form is to just like put the image up and have like no text, no description, and then to just like run away and not see. I don't even want to see what anyone says about it or whether anybody likes it, or yeah, I'm just like a very withdrawing person in that way. Other people I would hear have these goals about like engagement or how many people would comment, or yes, stuff that was more focused around engagement and interaction. And I didn't necessarily connect with those goals. Oh man. All right, you guys, should I keep going? Whew. Oh good, here comes the air conditioner again. All right, yeah, I didn't really necessarily connect with those goals because of being so introverted. And there's this like vague abstract goal that, you know, being on social media, yes, maybe it's gonna help art directors find me. And I do think that's true. And I think it's important. But there's not like a one-to-one, I couldn't see how my efforts were connected to that goal necessarily, because it's honestly not very often that a client will say, oh, we found you on Instagram or whatever. And part of that is probably also my fault because I hardly ever ask clients how they found me. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is I didn't feel, and to a certain extent, I still don't feel like I have any really good concrete goals related to the sharing of my work. And I think I have been in a kind of self-centered place related to art and related to work, because I've just been so wanting to paint, and all I want to do is paint, and all I want to do is like paint for myself and just be in that process all of the time. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's just where I am at right now. But I know enough about myself to know that I have to be able to connect to some kind of goal that is bigger than that. Otherwise, I will not stay motivated for the long term. And you know, I made the comment earlier about like not being one to use mood-altering substances, but there's a way in which I feel like when you're making art for the reason that I sometimes do, you know, to get into that flow state, to get into that that state where you feel tapped into something larger than yourself, but it's, you know, you're both connected and disconnected at the same time, if that makes sense. If you have experienced that in art making, you know what I'm talking about. But just chasing that alone isn't going to be enough, and just for me, and just chasing the numbers for social media isn't going to be enough. And I need to figure out something else. I need to figure out what is, and what is my deeper motivation and where I want to go with it. Like, and this may seem like a crazy thing to be talking about right now, because I'm, you know, how many years into my career am I now? I'm like 8 years in. And I should have probably thought about this before, but I was so focused on just like getting things moving and getting things off the ground that I wasn't actually stopping to ask myself why. And I think I was kind of afraid of the question why. And I am asking it now, and I don't completely know the answer, but I am thinking about it and writing about it and trying to talk about it with you guys, and I will keep talking about it. I am feeling, I think you can probably tell because I can remember how my countenance was in the last video, and it was very down, and I feel a lot lighter. I feel better than I did the last time I was here, but I don't necessarily feel concluded. I don't feel like, oh yeah, now we've come to the end of this and I have a nice neat answer, and so I'm feeling a bit vulnerable about putting this video out, because yeah, who knows how long it is and how chatty I am and all of that, but it's important for me to let you guys see that. And I think there's another thing that came up, another theme for me that came up in the reflection, which was that I feel like, you know, how do I want to say it? I do spend a lot of emotional energy, again, like thinking through how something is presented and how I want to say something, and I'm not a natural verbal communicator. Well, it's hard for me to say things succinctly, I'll just say that, that won't surprise you. And so I put a lot of energy into trying to make myself succinct and in trying to put it into something bite-sized for social media and really tidy for YouTube. And you know, I don't know if I can do that anymore. So I am nervous about how this is going to come across. I don't know, but I guess I'll just leave it there. And let me look at my script that I'm following so carefully again. Yes, actually I think that's all I want to say. So videos will resume, regular videos edited by the amazing Meg, who has also been so supportive and kind during this time that I stepped away. She will be back on editing next week. So we're gonna talk about, we're gonna do a few fun different things. We're gonna have a video about art insecurities. Let me look at my list here. And I'm gonna do a collaboration with somebody who you guys have almost definitely heard of. And what else? Well, I know one of them off the top of my head. We're gonna talk about pricing and 4 things to do. 4 things to do when you get a quote from a client, a quote request from a client, how to price it, because that topic never seems to get old. And then there's one other one that I have planned for right now, but lots of good stuff coming, and we will just see where the journey takes us. So thank you to everybody who has stuck around for the last month, even though I haven't been putting anything else out there. Thank you again to everybody for leaving such nice comments on my video, on the burnout video. And yeah, check in over at Instagram if you haven't yet. And I hope you guys are all hanging in there and having a good start to this very strange summer. Yep, I will see you all soon. Bye guys.